I stood at the edge of the gravel driveway, holding the old brass key like it might burn me. The house loomed ahead, 3 stories of weather-worn shingles, ivy-choked siding, and shuttered windows that hadn't been opened in decades. It smelled like my father, not literally, more like the idea of him, distant, unknowable, and locked behind doors I wasn't supposed to open. He had died 6 weeks ago. A sudden stroke, the lawyer said. There was no will, but there was this deed. A house in Millersville, Maryland, a town I'd never heard of, holding a property I never knew existed. And now it was mine. He lived modestly in D.C., rarely talked about his past. My mother died when I was 7, and after that, it was just him and me, though just him often meant just me. I'd always assumed my father didn't own much. Avoided questions with a skill that now, in hindsight, feels deliberate. No friends, no boyfriend. The wooden steps groaned under my weight. A spiderweb clung to the corner of the doorframe. He worked late, traveled more than necessary. When the lawyer handed me the key, he simply said, "Your father kept this house very private." Private was an understatement. I drove down alone. I wanted to meet the house on its own terms. I parked the car, stepped out, and walked to the porch. The brass key clicked in the lock. I turned it, pushed the door open, and screamed. A woman, maybe in her 60s, sharp-eyed and barefoot, stood at the end of the hallway. She held a steaming mug of coffee. She did not look surprised. "You must be his daughter," she said. Calm, measured, my throat dried. "Excuse me, I'm Eleanor," she said, as if it explained everything. I blinked. "Why are you in my house?" She smiled faintly. "Your house, yes, I inherited it." My father was Henry Lawson. Her smile didn't change. "I know, he was my husband." Time stopped. "I know who your mother is." She didn't say ex-husband. She didn't say used to be. She said was present, possessive, and it rattled me in ways I couldn't name. "You must be confused," I said. "My father. He was married to my mom, Alice. She died years ago." Eleanor sipped her coffee. She walked past me, toward the front door. "Come inside. I'll make you tea. This is going to take a while." The living room was frozen in time, floral wallpaper, velvet furniture, family photos in tarnished frames. Only none of them were mine. No pictures of me. No trace of my childhood. Only her and him. Side by side in black and white. On beaches, at weddings, in front of this very house. "How long have you been living here?" I asked. She placed a teacup in front of me. "Since 1989. But that's before I was born." She nodded. "Exactly." The tea burned my tongue. I barely noticed. My hands shook as I looked around. "What exactly are you saying?" "I'm saying," she said gently, "that your father never left me." "He left you." The cup slipped from my fingers and shattered. The morning light crept through half-closed blinds as I sat alone in the living room, Eleanor's tea untouched on the side table. She'd gone upstairs an hour ago to rest, leaving me in a house full of ghosts. And lies. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was loud. Every creak in the floor, every tick of the ancient grandfather clock, echoed with memories I never had until I saw the photo album. It was leather-bound, resting on the bookshelf beside the fireplace, thick and dusty, but not untouched. I pulled it down and sat on the velvet couch, legs crossed, heart pounding. I opened it. The first page was handwritten. Eleanor and Henry, 1985. My hands trembled. Dark hair, that same quiet smile I grew up watching from afar. A wedding photo. He looked young, maybe early 30s. Eleanor stood beside him, stunning and proud, bouquet in hand. Then a series of vacation pictures. Lake Tahoe, Paris, Charleston. Then baby pictures, a little girl, curly hair. Laughing in a crib, I stared, my breath caught, not me. I was sure of it. Was it her daughter, my sister? I flipped faster. Page after page of moments I wasn't part of. Christmas trees, Halloween costumes, beach days. In one photo, Henry knelt beside a swing set, pushing the little girl. She wore a red coat and snow boots. I turned the photo over. In neat cursive, Lena, 1991, Lena. I didn't know Alina. I snapped the book shut and stood. Eleanor's voice came from the stairwell. You found it. I turned, startled. Who is she? Eleanor stepped down slowly, robe tied loosely around her waist. She's your sister. I don't have a sister. You do, she said. You just didn't know. I backed away. What is this? Some kind of elaborate scam? She didn't flinch. You think I stayed here all these years, lived this quiet life just to trick you? You think I want your inheritance? I didn't answer. She walked to the bookshelf, pulled out a drawer beneath it, and handed me a small envelope. Inside was a birth certificate. Lena Lawson, born 1991. Father, Henry Lawson. Mother, Eleanor Brooks. I don't understand, I said. He married my mother after this. Eleanor shook her head. No, he was never legally divorced. My skin prickled. That means you're not legitimate in the eyes of the law, she said softly. And this house, technically, it was always mine, the lie. I sank into the couch, dizzy. Was I the secret? Was my whole life? You're lying, I whispered. This isn't real. She reached into the drawer again, pulled out a small box. Inside were letters, dozens of them, each one addressed to my father from Eleanor. Each one unopened, some dated during my childhood. Some during my mother's illness, some right before he died. You were a child. None of this is your fault, she said. But it's still your truth now. I didn't cry. Not yet. My emotions were frozen, as if afraid to open the dam. But one thought pulsed in my head. If this woman is telling the truth, then who was I living with all my life? The testing kit came in a nondescript white envelope, the kind you'd expect to contain junk mail or old coupons, not the key to unraveling your entire identity. I bought two, one for me. One for Eleanor. She agreed immediately. No hesitation, no drama. I've waited long enough, she said, gently pressing the swab to the inside of her cheek. I followed her lead, my hands colder than they should have been. We mailed them together that afternoon. Then we waited. Waiting turned out to be the hardest part. I stayed at the house. Not because I trusted her, but because I didn't trust anything else. Not my memories, not my name, not even the woman I had called Mom for most of my life. Eleanor cooked. She kept the kitchen quiet, played soft jazz in the mornings. She never pushed, never prodded. She just existed. Like the house itself. Like someone who'd waited decades to be acknowledged. A week passed, then another. On the 10th day, the email came. Subject, your DNA test results are in. My throat tightened as I clicked it open. 2 matches, 1 marked. Parent-child 99.997%. I stared at the screen. That wasn't my mother's name. It was hers. Eleanor Brooks, my biological mother. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there in the hallway, the light from the stained glass window throwing rainbow fragments across my shaking hands. Eleanor stepped in behind me. She looked at the screen, said nothing. And then she did something my mother never used to do. She reached out and held me. I didn't hug back, not right away. My mind was spinning. What had my father done? Why did he hide this? Why raise me with another woman? Why lie? Was my whole life a cover story? That night, I couldn't sleep. I wandered the halls of the old house, touching walls that held memories I wasn't part of, family I'd been erased from. On the staircase wall, I found another frame I hadn't noticed before. It was a family photo. Henry, Eleanor, and a little girl, Lena. There was a space beside them. An empty space, almost like a person had been cropped out. Had there ever been room for me in this picture, or was I never supposed to exist? The next morning, Eleanor sat across the table, reading her newspaper like nothing had changed. But everything had. I want to know the whole story, I said. She folded the paper, set it aside. I was hoping you'd ask. She reached for her tea and began. Your father wasn't a bad man, but he was a weak one, Eleanor said. We sat on the sun porch, light filtering through the ivy-covered glass. A tray of toast sat untouched between us. I could smell the lemon in her tea. I met Henry at university, she began. We were both studying literature. He loved Melville. I loved Wolfe. We married young to young, probably, but we meant it. I didn't interrupt. He always wanted a family. But we struggled to have children. Years went by. I miscarried twice. Then, finally, we had Lena. Her eyes softened, but her mouth stayed firm. He was a good father, gentle, patient, distant in his own way. But he loved her, us, or I thought he did. What changed? I asked. His job, she exhaled slowly. He got a position in Washington. Government contract work. He traveled a lot. I stayed here with Lena. We tried long distance. Phone calls, letters, it worked until it didn't. She sipped her tea. He met your mother, didn't he? She nodded. I don't know exactly how it started, but I knew when he started lying. He said the travel was more intense. The calls stopped. The letters got shorter. I stared down at my hands. He never filed for divorce. Just ... stopped coming back. Did he tell you about me? Eventually, after your mother died, I froze. Wait, what? He showed up at this door one night, drunk, rambling, said she'd passed. Said he had a daughter, said he didn't know what to do. I felt like the air had been sucked from the room, and you let him in. She smiled sadly. For one night, he slept on the couch. He held a photo of Lena and cried like I'd never seen before. Then he left again. The silence between us stretched like glass. I never hated you, Eleanor said. I didn't even hate her. I hated him for thinking he could split a life in half and not break it. I didn't know, I said softly. I know. I looked out across the lawn. The garden was overgrown, the roses wild. What do I do now? Whatever you need to. This house is yours as much as mine. Your father didn't give you the truth, but maybe we can build something better now, rooted in it. That night, I walked down the hallway again. But this time, I didn't feel like a stranger. I touched the frame with Lena's picture. I didn't feel erased. I felt emerging. The house was quiet the morning I found the will. It wasn't in the lawyer's office. It wasn't in a vault or a bank. It was in the attic. In a dusty briefcase beneath an old box of vinyl records. I found it because I wasn't looking for it. I was looking for more pictures of Lena, but instead, I found a sealed envelope marked to be opened by my daughters. Plural. I sat cross-legged on the attic floor and opened it with shaking hands. The will wasn't legal. It wasn't notarized. Just handwritten pages, yellowed with time, but it told a story. My father had known. He'd known everything, how he left Eleanor, how he couldn't bring himself to file for divorce, how he tried to be a father twice. And failed both times. He called us both by name, Lena, me. He didn't leave instructions, just regret. And one sentence that made my throat close. If I had one wish left, it would be to see you both in this house together, without me in the way. I brought the letter to Eleanor. She read it in silence. When she finished, she folded it slowly, pressed it against her chest, and nodded. Then let's do it, she said. Let's fix what he broke. Lena came a week later. She stood on the porch like I had once, confused, uncertain, holding her own version of grief. And I let her in. We didn't fix everything overnight. We argued, we cried, we unpacked decades of silence and pain and lies. But slowly, a new family began to take shape. Not the one my father built, the one we chose. 1 year later, the three of us stood in front of the courthouse. Eleanor had decided to officially add me to the deed. No more secrets, she said, signing the paper with a firm hand. And no more ghosts, I added. When we walked back through the front door, sunlight spilled across the floor like a blessing. I looked at the wall of photos. This time, mine was there too. Right beside Lena's, different mothers. Same father, shared house, shared truth, not perfect, but honest, and finally, mine.